Good afternoon and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another webinar. I would like to introduce Jen Spencer and marketing at SmartBug Media. Jen, thank you for joining us and welcome aboard.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad to be here. Excited to talk shop.
Definitely. It's so rare that somebody is like both on the sales and marketing side. Usually like it's one or the other, but you're one of the few rare unicorns out there that can do both. Like, how did that happen?
By just needing it to happen, like coming up through nonprofit and then startup world, where you kind of need to do all things. And I always thought of myself as a marketer that salespeople seem to really like, and then kind of crossed over into sales world. But my day to day is actually much more sales than it is marketing these days.
That's so funny because so is mine. Like this crazy world of demand generation is actually like so much more involved in sales than you would think.
Yeah.
But it's fun. And like I used to be on the agency side of the house. I used to work, my first SEO job was a company similar to SmartBug. And like I used to just like focus on getting all these leads for clients, and then I wouldn't know what happened after that.
Yeah.
And now it's like I have to not only get the leads, but I have to make sure they like convert.
Yeah.
So it's like really hard. But it's fun. Sean Daly, what is up, man? Thank you for joining. So quick thing that I like to do before we dive into all the great content is just shout people out. So I see Todd, what's up, brother? Ken, Suzanne, Patrick, Zane, Olivia, Melissa, Alex Quinn, Linda, Krishan Patel, Kristen, Amanda, Brad, Becky. Oh shit. What's up, Becky? Nick, Andrew Dimmick, what's up, brother? Rich, Navanith, Yulia, Sean, Tommy, how you doing, guys? All right, beautiful. If you want to just really quickly in the side panel, just drop where you're from, drop your location, where you representing from. Sean, I know where you're representing from. You're always in MIA strong right now. You saw Dwayne Wade last night, is last home game. Phoenix, Zane, what's up? That's also where Jen is, and I'm out in Phoenix a lot too. Goodyear, Arizona, what's up? Yulia, repping NYC, that's what I'm talking about. Treasure Close, Florida in the house. Kansas City, PA, okay, all right. We got a good crew. Oh man, Phoenix is really representing hard though. Nick in Birmingham, what's up? Austin, Texas, Olivia, I feel you. Cool. Someone said, Jen, I chatted with you when you were at Allbound about Small Business Web Summit at San Francisco 2 years ago. Damn, Buffalo, New York in the building too.
Awesome.
Damn. All right. Wow. Okay, cool. So we got some cool people in the house. That's what's up. Guys, what you're going to learn today from Bangalore, India, all the way across the world. What's up? What you guys are going to learn today is how to conquer inbound marketing with a startup budget. You saw my post yesterday. You don't need a big ass budget to do cool stuff in marketing. Now, if you do have a big ass budget, that's great. But if you don't, Jen's going to show you the process of how to scale on very, very, very low or limited budget. And without further delay, I'm going to pull up the screen share and let Jen just go to town on this. I'm looking forward to learning a thing or two here from Jen. She's such a scientist when it comes to this stuff. So I'm just going to be chirping into the background, kind of poking in little pieces here and there. But Jen, I'm really excited for you to just take this away. So I'm going to share my screen and we'll just dive right into this, man. This is going to be awesome. Fantastic. So let's do this. I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. Boom. Yep. Application window. Perfect.
Like this better be a solid deck here.
This is a monster deck. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Here we go. And now what you're going to see is me going into presentation mode.
Awesome.
And we should be looking pretty. Jen, how are we looking?
Oh, looking great. This is perfect.
Boom.
Yeah, so super excited to talk to you guys about inbound marketing on a startup budget. So if we've never met, although some of the people here we've met in person, which is great. But I'm Jen Spencer, so I'm the VP of Sales and Marketing at SmartBug Media. And in my quote free time, I'm also on the board of Girls in Tech Phoenix. I am on the membership chair. So those of you who are in Arizona, if you want to get involved in Girls in Tech, please hit me up. Let me know what you're doing and how we can maybe help support you and getting more women involved in your organization, regardless of what particular role, whether it's sales, marketing, or actual technology.
What does SmartBug Media do?
So SmartBug Media, we are an intelligent inbound marketing agency, and we help our clients with growing their revenue. For the most part, people bring us on board when they've got the revenue goals, and they need help reverse engineering the marketing strategy and then executing that strategy for how they're going to achieve those goals. So
awesome.
Yeah. So I'm actually a past client of SmartBug. So I joined the team here about 18 months ago.
So when you're at Allbound, like you commission them?
Both at Allbound and at NetTime Solutions as well. Yeah. So that's and I'll talk a little bit as we're talking about kind of the growth story of how it really went from being super scrappy and selling by day and marketing by night to then deciding to hire an agency and build a team, and how you really grow inbound from there.
That sounds awesome.
So my background really is like I work with early stage startups. I work in nonprofit. I've worked for big, massive organizations when we got acquired. But I am the kind of person who I like to learn by going through an example. So show me like an actual model of what someone else has done. And then that way I can start thinking about my organization and applying myself to that. So what I want to share with you is the growth story from Allbound, where we went from 0 to 1 million in ARR. And we did it all with inbound marketing, and we did it all with very, very little money. So it's extremely relevant to the conversation we're having.
How long did it take roughly?
It was like about a year and a half.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Short time window.
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay. So looks like it was tough. So maybe break it down for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So just kind of setting the stage for you. So again, very little money. We had seed funding of $1 million, which at the time sounded like the most amazing thing ever. And then you realize how little $1 million actually is when
it's like nothing.
Yeah, I know. But it felt amazing when there were like 5 of us staring at each other. But really had what I consider like an MVP product, where the initial customers that we were bringing on were really helping shape the development of the product. And like I mentioned before, I was like selling by day, marketing by night. And it was pretty awesome that in and of itself, because in those early days, an MQL was an SQL, because when I was thinking, when I would get like a demo request and I would hop on to do a demo and actually have a sales conversation or a discovery call with somebody, I was thinking, all right, what do I want them to know about us coming into this conversation? Is this the right person? Who are we targeting? So it allowed me to be really agile and very, very, very flexible in that early process. We were, so Allbound, if you're not familiar with Allbound is a partner relationship management solution. So helping organizations who sell through channel partners really treat those partners like an extension of their team. And we find that the channel tends to be really underfunded, and they're a really undervalued buyer. So type of customer that has lots and lots of problems, but really doesn't have a seat at the executive table and isn't getting the resources they need to be successful, even when like 40 or 50% of revenue in the organization would come through the channel. So pretty bad. And not only was the status quo in this industry just okay, it seemed to be embraced. So people were like really, really accepting and comfortable with just being okay. So we wanted to, we had a really strong vision We wanted to be very disruptive. We had a lot of area expertise, and we wanted to create this new category for what sales acceleration really meant when you're talking about a channel of partners. So not an easy environment.
No. I mean, I deal with channel partners a lot today, and like I can totally validate everything you just said. Like most of them haven't even updated their websites in the last like 5 years.
Yeah.
So like it's tough.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So you had 3 people?
So these are my personas.
Okay.
So when I come into an organization, whether I'm doing sales, marketing, whatever it is, the first thing is I want to know whose problem am I solving?
Yep.
You know, whose pain am I alleviating? Who's going to be signing on the dotted line and like signing the contract? So we started off with these 3 personas. Abby, the partner program manager, Mike, the channel partner marketing manager, and Sean, the VP of sales or channel sales. And everything that I did from a marketing perspective was all focused on either one or all of these individuals. And then as I was having the sales conversations, I was validating, okay, are these people the ones who are actually making the decision, needing, having the pain? But all of the marketing effort was focused on these people. These people became my best friends. So if you're in a startup, you need to know exactly who your stars are. Your stars, that cast of characters need to be those. Usually it's 2 to 4 people who are who you're solving problems for.
Did you find that going to one of these personas more than others was like more or less successful? Like, for example, if you went right to the top, like, was that more successful, or going from the bottom? Like, what did you find?
We learned a lot about personas, and our persona strategy evolved a bit. Things I did learn are, the fellow right here in the middle, Mike, needed to get him on board, but he definitely wasn't going to be the internal champion or driver. And honestly, the person I used to love selling to the most was Abby. Because Abby is like the hustle, like get stuff done. And she's also the person who tends to have like everything fall under her plate. And so even though Sean might be the one that's going to actually carry this up to finance, Abby's the one who's going to stand outside his door and like keep knocking on it until he gets it done.
Yep. That's exactly the way it works at our company.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So you built a content wonderland.
Yes. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is I took Abby, Mike, and Sean, and we said, all right, we need to create content to like pique their interest. Content like blog articles, like webinars, totally not as cool as this. This is like amazing. But how can we, what can we do? Social media campaigns, what can we do to get in front of these people? And everything was focused on just each of these 3 individuals. And I had a rule of thumb of we need to be blogging a minimum of twice a week. And the reason why it was so important for us to blog a minimum of twice a week is because the more we blog, then the more search, the better it's going to be for our search rankings, the more authority we're going to have.
Yep.
And so it was all about like, how do we make ourselves get ourselves on the map? Because we're competing against really legacy products with companies that are very, very well funded. And we needed to kind of get out there in a big splashy way. So we created a ton of content.
Wow. Now that sounds like you were just like, identifying topics, probably even writing the posts. Like, is that right?
Oh yeah. So actually we took an all hands on deck approach to this, and everyone in the entire company wrote content. And I mean, everybody, whether you were on, customer success or you were in development, we would have themes. And so I would determine what the theme is. And then I would crowdsource topic ideas from the team. And then sometimes if people weren't really strong writers, then they kind of bullet out things, or we do a quick subject matter expert interview and I'd interview them. We also would use some freelancers or ghostwriters to take some of those interviews and then convert them into content at a really low cost. But honestly, in those early days, I was very lucky running sales and marketing, because we had a team of people who all were all in to really be part of marketing and part of sales. So that was great.
That's huge. Yeah. Because so many people are going to be like, nah, I never wrote content before. No, I don't know. I can't do this. No, just let me. No, I can't be bothered.
Right.
But
exactly.
it's good that you got them bought in.
Exactly. And Todd here just mentioned that he stuck to 1 time a week, targeting personas, but then you also use guest blogs.
Yep.
Super. Absolutely. And that is something that we did as well. So what we did though is you don't just write, right? So you got to write and you got to promote. So we had this cadence. So the blog would be published and then we shared it via like our company social accounts.
Yeah. And that's where usually most companies stop.
Yeah. You can't do that, right?
Yeah,
you can't just stop there.
Yeah.
So we had a community manager. So like my first hire was this like a marketing community manager. What she would do is she would actually draft social media messages. She would figure out like what are the right hashtags we should use. And then she would share that with the team. So it was super simple. We would just get like an email in our inbox that had like these lazy tweets basically of things, you could use. And then everyone in the company, and, we were talking about 5 people, then 7 people, then maybe 10 people, right? Everyone would be promoting out that content and we would ask them to put their own kind of spin on it. But at the very least, they could copy, paste, post.
Mm-hmm. Simple.
So, make it very easy. So then what we did as part of our process here is 2 weeks after the blog went live on our site, the blog author, we would have that person sort of partially publish the blog on LinkedIn with a link to read more on the blog. So we're trying, remember, our goal is we want to get eyeballs to our website so that we can then convert them into a lead on our site. So so they would do that. They would publish the blog, or they would partial publish like the first couple of paragraphs, click here to read more. And then a week after that, we would have the blog author share the blog on inbound.org. Now, a couple things. One is that, just so you guys all know, inbound.org doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, growth. What are they, Growth Hub now or something like that?
I think it might be growth.org.
Growth.org, yeah. That community died, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I think HubSpot just made some changes, like just prioritize like how they were focusing things and moving from inbound to growth. But that was a really fantastic place for us to find some of our buyer personas. So don't go and republish to growth.org, or if inbound.org still existed, I would say don't go publish there if your personas aren't there.
Yeah.
But we did that as a way to kind of share and get more exposure. And then 2 weeks after that, the blog author would submit their entire blog as a draft to the publication that we created on Medium. So we created an individual all-bound publication, and then the community manager would kind of review it and then publish.
Okay.
So a couple of things I want to point out. There was a question here about, do we host our own blog on our site or was it on Medium? Absolutely, 100% without a doubt, host it on your own site.
Yep.
So if you are relying on just publishing on Medium, you're not doing anything to improve your domain authority, and people aren't going to find you. So you want to have it on your site. The other thing to keep in mind, so just learn from my past failures. So one is that if you republish it on Medium and you don't import it, you will then cannibalize on your own traffic.
Yeah.
So you want to use Medium has a great just import feature. It makes it easy for you. It'll automatically pull the content in, and it'll tell the internet that this was originally published on your blog.
Yeah, if you're using a WordPress site, there's a plugin that actually automatically does it for you. That's what we used to do at Sales Hacker, and it would let basically the Google indexes know that it was originally published on this WordPress site, and then the Medium was just a syndicated version of that.
Yep. Yeah. And then the other thing I recommend is having a publication, because then you have different authors, and as people are, join your company, leave your company, you can add them as contributors to that publication. As you have guest bloggers, you can have those people be contributors to your publication. but it also allows the article to be associated with the author. And so it helps you build brand authority for your individual authors, which is a really powerful tool for your sales reps to have this authorship so that they're seen as an expert and they've got this wealth of information that's kind of tracking, that's behind them online when they're talking to a prospect.
Exactly. And the point is just to kind of be as many places as possible. Like, I know that there's some people that just really love Medium. So they may not find you on your blog because they just go to Medium.
Right. So you're selling yourself short if you're just publishing on Medium.
Yeah. And then the repurposing.
The other tip I have is, so I'm just one of those people who I like to repurpose as much as possible. Like if I do something once, I want to think like, how do I get like 10x out of this?
Right.
So one of the things we recognized from some of our persona interviews, and so by actually interviewing our customers and finding out where they go and where they spend their time, we found that, hey, they're spending a lot of time on social media. They're spending a lot of time on Instagram. So, and this was, Instagram wasn't, I think, as big, as popular as it is today. So what I had an intern do is I had an intern actually take every blog that we wrote. We had a Canva account, and she would grab a phrase or some kind of quote or stat from each blog, and she would design it out for, into a graphic. And then we started sharing these graphics on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, all different sizes, just to attract attention. So just one more little step, something small that didn't take a lot of effort or energy.
Nice.
And the cool thing that happened is we're publishing so much. And remember, I said we were in a really laggard playground. So our competitors weren't doing this. Our competitors were publishing case studies, and they were talking about awards that they had gotten, and they were spending, gobs and gobs of money to be at trade shows. We couldn't afford to do any of that stuff, but we could afford to publish a lot of content because that was free. And so in doing so, we started attracting all these partnerships. So bigger companies with bigger budgets and teams were coming to us and saying, hey, can we collaborate with you on content? And what my recommendation is when you're doing this is we were flooded with opportunities, which was so cool. And we would look at, all right, here's our personas. And in some cases, I said, like, I would literally just email over, hey, here's our documented personas. These are the people we're trying to reach. And I actually remember the way that it's happened with Max at Sales Hacker is he was like, hey, we should do something. I sent him my personas. I said, are you guys targeting these personas? This is mine. He's like, this is amazing content. Can you please publish this? Can you write a blog for us? But making sure that you're really aligned and that you're not just partnering with someone for the sake of partnering. But then we started creating content like webinars, and then we would convert those webinars into ebooks, and then spin off blog articles from those ebooks. Because and we got more lift, more visibility, because these organizations that were partnering with us, they loved us for our creativity. We loved them for their audience and their reach, right?
Exactly.
So it was really a really good match for us.
Yeah, it's genius. I mean, this is the stuff that like people overlook. Like it's not hard to do it. It just takes like a lot of focus and dedication. It's like every day blocking and tackling.
Yeah, and when you make noise, online and you make good noise, right?
Yeah.
Like, and you're constantly you're being helpful and you're very focused, then you will attract people who are like-minded, who want to get involved, and co-marketing is such a fun thing. So
yeah.
So
awesome.
All right, so we created all this content, and one of the things we realized in the sales process is we were struggling a bit. So one thing we learned about Abby is that she's really super under-resourced. We learned about Mike. He very easily would take us off course for a variety of reasons we won't get into right now. And with Sean, the one thing I'll say about Sean, and if you're a VP of sales, it's his way or no one's way, right? So we recognized that we were doing a really good job at filling the top of our funnel and creating awareness content. Yeah, you can go to the next slide there.
Okay.
Yeah, but we realized we needed to make some investments in consideration stage content. So,
Wow.
and we recognized we had this just like this blockage. We were expecting sales to be able to convert people who came in from awareness content, and that was not effective. And I'm a big fan of interactive content. So two of the most useful pieces of interactive content that we created, one was a little bit more of an expensive endeavor, which was creating an ROI calculator, which I know a lot of organizations have. We went for something fancy. You can definitely do something more simplistic with Excel or Google Sheets. But we recognize that someone like Abby, she needed this kind of a resource in order to even like have an opportunity to share some solutions internally.
This is great. Wow.
And the other thing that was less expensive was just setting up some really simple interactive quizzes. So actually, if you go back to the last, you don't have to, on the last slide, that are you ready for channel partners? Just a 10-question survey. So we used a tool called Lead Quizzes, super affordable, really, really great. And we would put those on our blog just to get people to engage in a particular topic that we were looking for. And you can also use them for generating folks at the top of the funnel too. So
now would you inject this ROI calculator and are you ready for channel partners quiz like into blog posts?
Are you ready for the quiz? Yes. So we would have it be like as a CTA, as a call to action, and let's say in the middle of the blog or the end of the blog. Definitely. The ROI calculator was something that was used more as more of a premium asset. So it was something that, first of all, sales could put into the hands of someone for, during the sales process, or it's something that we could promote as a piece of consideration stage content. Someone could fill this out and then they would see like some modest results, but if they actually gave us their contact information, they would see a much bigger report.
Great.
But then on the next one, so then the other content, obviously like case studies are a mainstay. So as soon as we had like our very first success stories, and one of the things we did is when we would, as a startup, when we would give someone, let's say, a discount, we would say, okay, like we're willing to give you this discount in exchange. Will you do, customer reference calls, and will you do a case study, after X period of time? So we got that commitment during the sales process in negotiation. So we were really armed with success stories early on, which was important for us to have that social proof being such a young company.
Yeah. And like how long did it take before you got like your first really good one?
This one from Avella, this one, we were able to get this one pretty quickly.
Cool.
So really within, I think they were maybe about 3 or 4 months live on the software, which was quick for us considering like it was that's such a massive endeavor. And then from there, once you had that model, once we had that template, it was just kind of rinse and repeat, with every new customer.
Yeah. I mean, you got the nuts and bolts there. You got overview, the backstory, you got challenges, results. That's all you need. Those 4 components.
Yep. And hey, we're going to share this presentation after?
Yes. Everybody's also going to get the replay automatically. So if you miss something, don't worry about it.
Yeah, because I have a bunch of templates in here that people can use later on. And so,
okay.
Great.
Cool.
And then premium content. So we actually started building out like an ebook or a guide, right? Like, how do you know if you actually need a tool? And then that content gave the sales team more talking points for when someone downloaded that. They wouldn't just call them and say, "Oh, I saw you downloaded content." They would talk specifically about that evaluator. So
right. Yeah, it gives them more context, and it's not just like an excuse to hit them up. Exactly.
Yeah. So even all of this being said, we recognize that we were really missing a message. Like for CEOs, it was like, how do we go faster? How do we get channel partners, in our case, onboarded faster, get them engaged faster, get them, get revenue coming in. And that was, and we recognized we needed to make some adjustments. So even though we weren't going to be attracting CEOs or CFOs or CROs, even though those people, they were never going to be part of the main kind of marketing nurture. They were never going to be part of the main sales conversation. They weren't going to come to those meetings, right? But we needed to have some awareness in front of them so that when their VP of sales or their VP of channel, or when their partner program manager walked into their office, they had some sense of, okay, I understand why this is a pain. And I've heard about this company before. They're kind of on my radar. So if you go to the next slide, this is where we started implementing some early account-based marketing, same with our inbound. So I would use HubSpot. We use HubSpot. So I would use my marketing automation platform to create some lists, targeted lists of, here are the organizations who they're in pipeline right now with their active opportunities. Here are the organizations that we've identified as being really good fits for our product, and I want to get in front of them. And so we started to use some account-based advertising, and we leveraged Terminus for this to show some more awareness stage ads, both to people who were on that, like, I want these people to meet me list, to also in front of the CEOs, so that when Sean would bring that SOW, bring that contract to the CEO or to the CFO, that CEO's like, oh yeah, Allbound, I've seen them before. And it may have been that, like when he was playing Words with Friends or something, he saw one of our ads, but getting in front of people, what it did is it helped to reduce the friction that we were experiencing during the contract stage of the sales process.
Huge. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you.
And then from there, we decided we're going to drink our own champagne and we're going to open up a partner channel. So and I literally just wrote about channels. So you guys can check it out. I shared it on LinkedIn if you want to connect. But what we did is we said, all right, who are the kinds of organizations that interact with our buyer personas on a daily basis? Turns out agencies. Agencies are those, and independent consultants. And so now, instead of just doing our own marketing, creating content, driving people in, having lead nurture campaigns that were set up, and having our sales team respond, we also identified partners and started enabling those partners with the same content that we were creating. And so this display that you see on the left, right? This is like what it looks like if I'm a sales rep, right? Like, who do I have the opportunity to kind of touch? Versus if you're selling through partners, then each one of those partner organizations, each one of those partner entities has a team. Maybe it's just one or two people, maybe it's 30 or 40, but of people who are interacting with individuals. And so you really are able to exponentially grow and really maximize all of the efforts that you're doing. So taking your content that you're creating for your direct side of your business and actually making sure that content gets into the hands of your partners just for bigger reach.
Yeah. And what I love about this is, like, you can kind of see the timeline already. You can see how this story is progressing. Like, it started with, like, all right, who are these 3 people that I got to focus on? What are their top problems? How do I create solution-focused content that's going to capture their interest and pique their intrigue? And then, like, you start getting, collaborations with all these other partners and stuff like that. You start doing co-marketing, and now all of a sudden you're opening up a partner channel. Whereas like probably, 6 to 8 months ago, you were just like, all right, what do we do?
Right, exactly. And it all goes back to that buyer persona, right? It all goes back to that individual that you're focused on, and using that person as your North Star, and making sure that everything that you do is going to be focused on getting in front of that person and helping that person. And so, because to be honest, once we opened up our partner channel, we had a lot of individuals who wanted to partner with us, and we had to say no to people. Like there were people we went, you know what, I appreciate your enthusiasm, and I appreciate and give them a way to be an evangelist, but you have really limited time and resources, so you need to be super focused on just what's going to actually drive revenue for your company.
Exactly. Cool.
So if we've talked about buyer personas a bit here, what is a buyer persona? It's a fictional representation of that target customer. It's this picture you paint that's based on research and interviews that you conduct with actual customers. So when we first got started, we didn't have customers. So there really wasn't anyone to interview, right? So, but our founders had an idea. They had like a concept of who they wanted to solve problems for. And we started there, and we actually ended up making a slight adjustment to our personas. So for example, Abby wasn't really Abby. Originally, she was a slightly different role that was much more of an end user role, more of like a channel account manager. And we recognized those people don't have authority, and they're not the ones they're the ones who were actually going to use our software, and they're going to alleviate a lot of their pain, but they're not going to be on the buying committee. So just, you have to be able to make some adjustments there. Buyer personas, one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make is they focus more on basic demographics, and instead of really going beyond that and getting into more of the intangible elements that make someone tick. So a buyer persona is not, a white female age 35 to 45 with 2 kids, right? That's not a persona, right?
Yeah.
So you want to understand more about what they care about. Your persona research that you do should help you answer questions like, what kind of content is most likely going to generate a response? Like video content, or really like long form, highly technical, like lots of analysis and data type of content? How does that person like to engage in the sales process? Are they the kind of person who is going to never be able to take a phone call because they're in back-to-back meetings all day, and you're more likely to get like emails at 11 o'clock at night, right? Like knowing that about somebody. And then what kind of problems do they need to solve? How does your business, whatever it is, how do we actually help them do their job better?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we learned this pretty hard and fast at Sales Hacker. We were trying to get more C-level executives to find us as a more attractive destination. And we learned 2 interesting things actually from doing research. We learned that executives are so busy during the week that they actually love Sunday night. So we started sending emails to only our C-level on Sunday nights to get like really good engagement, and it worked like a charm. And we would also like send them like LinkedIn DMs to like prospects on Sunday nights, because we know that's like their catch-up night, like before the week starts. And then obviously the podcast, that was a no-brainer, because they're driving, they're busy, they don't like reading, they don't have time. So audio content. I know, Jen, you and I talked about audio content before we started today. So this is great.
Yeah, I know that's brilliant. And you know what? The great thing about digital marketing is you can test and tinker, right? Like you can test anything and just experiment and see what happens, and I know I tested with like sending something on a Sunday. Every once in a while, I've gotten some kind of a negative, nasty response about like doing business on a Sunday or something. I'm like, all right, well, you're obviously not a cultural fit for our organization the way we work, so I was like, all right, my apology, I always be very nice and say my apologies. I didn't mean to disturb you, and thank you for letting us know, and then take them off that send list. But so these are examples. These are some cool things that you'll learn about like a persona through an interview. You might know, okay, like that this woman maybe doesn't own a car, so it's really important to her to make like purchases online. Even though she has a disposable income, she likes getting a good deal. Some people are just wired that way, right? Some people use their phone like infinitely more than their laptop. Or in your case, your CMO uses only his iPad.
Only iPad.
Right? Only iPad. So I had an iPad only week last week. It was pretty cool.
Nice.
But maybe you might learn like she's going to rather interact by email than phone. So So if you're like, all right, I got to make 100 dials a day, like don't be calling this persona because she's not going to want to pick up. And she's on social media to stay current on trends. And so when you know this information, you can then tailor both your marketing strategy and your sales strategy all around communicating with someone the way they want to communicate.
Brilliant.
So what I've got here, this is going to be much more beneficial to the team, the group here after we send this out, but just building your personas. So I've got some guidelines, some rules, and hopefully this will help walk the team. I say, I'm calling us a team. Hi everybody.
I like it.
We're all on the same. We're all on this team. Conquer Inbound.
Yes.
But this is just a great handy tool for you guys to be able to use. So you can copy this and then rock and roll. I think if you click through, I've got an example of a buyer persona. So notice he's got a name, he's got a picture, we have some background information about him. And then as we move on throughout, we get into goals. What are his pain points? Specifically, how our solution helps, right? And what are like the objections?
These are things that a lot of companies don't take the time to do. They just kind of, like you said, like they take that, all right, like the basic demographic stuff, and then they're like, all right, I think we can do this. Let's go.
Yeah, you just gotta like get into this, and just start having conversations. And now working at SmartBug, and anytime we're rolling out a new kind of product offering, or we're really gonna like diving into a new vertical, we conduct persona interviews. We find people who match that ideal buyer, and we start asking them questions. And it's really just, it's just exploring. It's very similar to the way if you met somebody at an event, at a cocktail party, coffee shop, whatever, and you start talking about what they do, and you start digging into their business, and you want to understand them, and you want to understand who they are as a person, right? And you also want to understand the business environment that they live in. And it becomes a very natural conversation. And I find, you might think, oh, people are so busy, they don't want to participate. Oh my gosh, not only are people happy to do it, say, hey, 20, 30 minutes of your time. And I always send people like a little gift afterwards. Yep. But honestly, afterwards, people will tell me, that kind of felt like therapy. Thanks. I really enjoyed that.
Because no one's ever asking them about it. That's why.
No, I know. So to actually say, I want to take the time to understand you, and this is going to help me be better at marketing to people like you. I find that a lot of people want to be part of a solution, and as long as you frame it with like, this is not a sales conversation at all, this is purely research, most people are pretty game.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you have company messaging, elevator pitch in here.
Yeah, because your elevator pitch that you have for your company may need to be different depending on the persona. Because when you go back to the problems that we help solve, the way that we would pitch to Sean, the VP of sales, is very different than the way we pitch to Mike, the channel marketing manager.
Yeah. And I like it. The simple structure here is like who we are, how we do it, and what your result will be. It's really simple.
Exactly.
Yep. Awesome.
So I think the next few slides here is just the template. So this is for everybody to get to know, so we can.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah. If anyone wants to contribute, see a couple of notes using Terminus, that's awesome. If anyone's done great persona work or has persona tips, love to hear what you guys have found to be successful.
Yeah. Like, I'm curious to know how many people on this crowdcast right now like are struggling with their personas, or like need help, or don't necessarily feel that they have like it really clear cut. You want to just type in the chat box on the side, like what your deal is, that we'd be curious to see that.
Yeah. So let's, we can keep talking while people are, unless, I don't know. Well, this is your shindig.
It's all good. And if you have a specific question to ask Jen, just hit the ask a question button. Yeah. You can do that too.
Oh, I didn't even see that was here.
Yeah.
Look at this. Oh, yes. Yes, it is. All right.
Yeah.
Perfect. So one of the things I recognize is content doesn't grow on trees. We talked about this a little bit.
Yeah.
So what I recommend is that you develop an editorial calendar and you actually plan 3 to 4 months out. And that is going to be kind of painful the first time, but then you'll be ahead, right? So you don't have to have all of your content written 3 to 4 months out, but you at least know, like, what are we going to be writing about and talking about? I recommend working with monthly or bi-monthly themes. So when I first kicked this off, actually, if I go back to when I was at NetTime Solutions, which is a time and attendance software company startup at the time, we would say, okay, increasing productivity, right? Like, that's an example of something that's like it's a large kind of umbrella pain area. And let's have this be, you know, bi-monthly. So let's combine, okay, in the month of January and February, all of our content, everything we're creating is all around this idea of how do we help improve productivity inside of an organization, inside specifically like the HR organization. We sold to HR directors and payroll managers and CFOs. So making sure that your awareness stage content is about that theme and it's driving people to some kind of an anchor event or an opportunity. So in our case, it was a webinar. So we'd have everything would like lead up into this webinar. All of the content. So when someone would be on the blog, they'd be reading the blog, and then the call to action on the blog was, you know, register for this event. Register for this event that is very closely connected to the blog content that you just read. And you want to be prepared to also reward those personas with some kind of consideration stage content. So if you think about your awareness content, your blogs, that may be your appetizer. Okay, at some point they're going to want the actual meal. So that meal could be a webinar, it could be an ebook, you know, it could be, you know, something more substantial, as long as it's helpful. It's not a demo yet, right? It's not sales, but it's something that's going to help them be better.
Yeah. Little hack or trick. I don't like saying hack, so maybe I'll say alternative solution. We started telling our prospects that we're not going to offer them demos, that we're going to offer them personalized webinars. just changing the name of what it is.
Yeah.
And it's been working. They like the idea of something being personalized, and they say, oh yeah, a webinar sounds cool. I would love to come to that. But you just don't call it a demo, but it is a demo kind of.
Oh, absolutely. You know, we've got a live A/B test on our site right now on one of our pages where we're doing an A/B test between the call to action, the button being request a consultation or speak to an advisor.
Yeah.
And so we're testing that right now on a very specific kind of, you know, for a very specific audience that we have. But that kind of stuff, it's like, just test it and see. And like, you never know until you try, and you might discover that something's a certain message which resonates much more with somebody.
Exactly. Yeah. The other cool thing we did recently was we told all our SDRs and people that had the phrase account executive or sales in their email signature to change it to technology consultant or cloud communications consultant.
Yeah.
And it's been getting better engagement because you're kind of disarming the, oh gosh, when's this pitch coming? It's just kind of a way to disarm that.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. That's awesome. Hey, there's a couple questions about personas we can tackle. So one was the best way to test the validity of personas.
Yeah.
Best way is third-party validation.
Okay.
And so what I would recommend is think about like your customers that you have that are, you probably have a handful of customers who you're like, oh my gosh, if I had like 10 of these or 50 of these kinds of like people, like we'd be golden. So I would actually have someone who doesn't work inside your organization, ideally, have a persona interview with those people, and then like do a gap analysis up against the persona documentation that you originally created, just to validate. That's something I know we do, especially when we've got when someone starts working with us at SmartBug and they say, well, we already built out our buyer personas. We say, great, we want to validate them. Let's see if we want to make any adjustments.
Yeah. And how often do you validate people who say that and they like have it wrong?
Oh, you know, Okay, so one of my favorites is we had a client. They actually sold marketed and sold tissue samples to medical researchers. And through the persona research process, we actually determined that the entire strategy that the company had in place for how they wanted that individual to buy did not make sense. So they, I don't want to get into like the nitty gritty details, but the long and short of it is this kind of buyer, the company was making it a lot more challenging for them to make a purchase. So they understood like what the pain points were. They understood the psychology of their buyer, but they really didn't ever dig into like the day-to-day business process of what that buyer, kind of goes through. And so that actually that was a significant change to their website strategy and their entire real like marketing and sales strategy.
That's huge because there's a lot of internal bias.
Oh,
and it's hard to beat that.
Yeah, completely. So Andrew asked about like conducting interviews with customers. Does it ever make sense to conduct them with leads still in the funnel or lost opportunities? So I would say it's better I would definitely talk to people who are actual customers. And then I would talk to people who I probably, honestly, just from a sales perspective, I probably wouldn't put someone who is an active opportunity into a persona conversation. I just feel like the messaging can get a little muddy there. So I might not do that. Although I have had situations where I identified someone from the outside, right, who wasn't a current customer. I identified them as being a potentially good fit for this new persona that we were building out, to interview them. And then they since then became an opportunity because they're like, wow, actually, like, this is great. You're pretty awesome.
Wow.
So I would go that route. And then there's another question here about anchor events, webinars, or like a live actual like in-person type of event, or it might be the download of a piece of long form content is what I would consider kind of an anchor event. Like if you think about like, what's the goal, right? Like in sales, we talk about you close every stage of the sales process, right? Marketing has to be the same. So when you move someone from a stage of awareness to consideration to decision, right? Like how do you, each one of those is an event of some kind.
Now, I will say something interesting though, Jen, that what the reason behind Nextiva doing webinars is kind of the anti of what most people do. And the problem we face in our industry is that we're just less well known than most of our competitors. And we know that like our competitors have massive amounts of money to invest into brand. So this topic, for example, like inbound marketing has nothing to do with what we sell. Absolutely nothing.
Right.
Which most people would say like, oh, so then you're wasting your time because you should be using awareness content to get them interested and then webinars to nurture them lower. That's like what most people do. But in our case, we just don't really care about that. We're just trying to become more well-known and provide like really cool value and just get people to say, oh yeah, I recognize them. I know what they're doing. Cool. And that's all we really care about, even though it has nothing to do with what we sell. So I know it's kind of like weird, but like for us, like an anchor event is actually being used to amplify brand and help brand. So we're going a little bit against the grain there.
Well, actually, like this, it completely supports what you sell in a way, because you want to help business owners and operators, be more effective overall. Correct. Right? So, and this topic helps with that, right? So like it does kind of, it connects back because believe me, like I like to analyze and unpack like every little marketing strategy and tactic I see anyone out there in the world doing. So it's like, oh, this is super smart, and you guys don't have a startup budget. I know you don't.
Yeah.
But there's a lot that big companies can learn from like the feisty, like small organizations.
Yeah, exactly. So like you said, it maps back to the pain because like one of our main personas is like a small business owner. And we know that they struggle with marketing and we know they don't have a lot of money. So that's why we do stuff like this, even though we don't sell, for example, say, marketing automation software or something like a HubSpot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So yeah.
So I know, I think I know how we're doing on time, but this is just an example of making sure that whatever content you're creating, that you're mapping your calendar actually to the buyer's journey. So if you actually mapped out, you did an audit of all your content, if you are creating content right now, I would say more than 50% of you probably are heavy on the attract, and you are like lacking, right, on the convert and the close. So if you're in marketing, right, your job isn't just to attract people. Like, you got to actually like help them like convert, become a lead, become an opportunity, and then help sales actually close the business. And if you're not doing that, you're not doing your job as a marketer.
Yep.
Again, making sure every blog has a plan and a purpose. So like, what's the title? What's the keyword? Making sure you've got a call to action on that post. Who's the persona that you're speaking to? What stage of the buyer journey is it? And then, just because you're probably running around like a chicken with your head cut off, like, all right, has this been approved internally? Has it been published? Like, when are we publishing it? Have we promoted it? This is especially useful if you've got like an army of interns or, if folks helping you out, just keeping things all in line.
Yeah. Damn, this looks exactly like the one I used. Shit.
Oh, good stuff. Great mind.
Yeah, this is cool.
Okay, so this is just an exercise that you can think about. So you can take this home. I used to be a teacher, so I like to give people homework, right? So if you think about one of your buyer personas, and then, take some time with your team, brainstorm like three, let's say, overarching themes that are going to speak to a pain or goal of that persona. Share it with kind of that partner or your teammate. Work together, identify that anchor event or that piece of kind of premium content for each theme. And this will help you get started on building out that editorial calendar that I'm like, all right, think 3-4 months out, right? Like, this is where it all starts. I guarantee if you actually sit down, spend an hour, and sit down and do this, you'll have that content calendar built out. And then all you have to do from there is execute.
Yeah, this is great. I love it.
So this is just an example. And you might say, like, my company, like, we don't really do anything super like sexy or sophisticated. One of our clients is Bay Supply. They distribute fasteners and rivets. Okay. They don't even make it.
Not sexy.
Not sexy at all. They're killing it right now. Want to know why? First of all, none of their competitors have even like the slightest like idea of like what inbound marketing or digital marketing is.
Yeah.
And like their revenue, we just published a case study, their revenue's up 30%. So like they're like happy as can be, but I didn't know anything about rivets. If I was to brainstorm, okay, like what are some of we can create this buyer's guide to stocking alternative fasteners, like alternative fastener brands, which is a big problem for them because all of their customers, they wanted to only stock the name brand stuff. We're like, no, like you want to stock the alternative brands too. And then here are the blog topics that would go with it. So you guys, it takes a little bit of creativity, but even the quote boring industries, sometimes you got the best content ideas from the boring industries.
Yeah. And I like some of these formulas here for the related blog topics. Like I know the phrase myths always does well. I know versus content always does well. And then of course your classic 5 XYZ I can't live without. That's always like, ooh, I gotta check that out. So those are all really creative.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. So and this is more homework. I don't know. How are we doing on time here?
At 3 o'clock, we could probably like extend another 5 minutes or so. We could plow through these next like 4 slides and then open it up for some more Q&A.
Okay, awesome. Just want to be aware.
Cool.
So just really creating that kind of like content cluster of, okay, what are the relevant blog topics that are going to lead somebody to an anchor event, and really make sure that which piece of which persona each piece of content they're creating is targeting.
Yep.
Oh, got it. So, all right. How do you generate I mentioned taking an all hands on deck approach, getting everyone in your entire company to write. Another thing is consume and review. So some of my most successful blogs in terms of like actual reach and conversion when I was at Allbound were things where I read someone else's article and then I had sort of a follow-up or a counter opinion on it, or I actually attended a live event and then I wrote about, you know, some of my top takeaways from that event. I know that's extremely popular, and you're able to kind of build on the momentum of that event that's happening. If you have a little bit of money, you can freelance and modify. So there are, you know, mechanisms for finding freelance writers who can take some concepts and then, you know, actually craft content on your behalf. And then once you do have a little bit more funding, you can partner with an agency. So when I was at Allbound, that's what I did. As soon as we had more funding, more, you know, we had more, and I say funding, we actually like sold, you know, more, we had the revenue, then partnered with SmartBug to really, you know, kick it up a notch. And, you know, get creative. Content doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be like massive. It doesn't have to all be written also. Like you have your phone, you can capture great audio, great video with the device that you have in your back pocket. So don't feel pressured to do everything at this like pristine professional level. As long as it fits your buyer personas, as long as it's in line with your brand, like just go for it. There's so many really cool, scrappy ways to get creative and produce good content.
Yeah, fun little story on that. I was interviewing somebody for a role at our company recently, and they said, yeah, you know, in order to create great customer testimonial stories with video, I need a budget of a minimum of $30,000 per video. And and I was just like, yeah, about that. Okay.
Yeah. So. Yeah. You're like, yeah, no.
I was like, yeah, no, like, yeah, no.
So a few bonus tips I have. First of all, get everyone in the company involved, like everybody. And regardless, like everyone's a marketer, everyone's a salesperson, right? Track everything. And I really mean everything, because when you track it, then you can report on what's working, and you need to build on what's working, and you need to ditch what doesn't. So one of the worst things I see is people keep doing things that aren't working because they're afraid to say it didn't work. Your team will appreciate you and have more respect for you if you admit, hey, we tried this. This was why we tried it. It didn't work. So we're going to ditch it. And this is what we're going to focus on instead.
I agree.
And you know, take chances, like we've said, like experiment, like, you know, the sky's the limit. And at the end of the day, like be authentic, be real, be human. And people are just starving for that kind of experience. So the people who are out there providing authentic, real human experiences, they're rising to the top.
Yeah, like that boring content example you showed with like the Bay Fast. That was really good.
Yeah.
Even the ditch that what doesn't work is huge, because like what I see a lot of companies doing is like, oh, we've always been doing this, so we're just gonna like keep doing it because it's what we've always done. But like an example of that was like LinkedIn groups. Like they've long been dead. And like when I first joined Sales Hacker, they were like, yeah, we just gonna like do this thing because like it works. We like post content here and no one reads it. So I'm like, why are we doing it? But yeah. All right. So let's get some more Q&A. I'm gonna get out of this presentation mode and we'll take some Q&A here. So hide this and I'll get out of this. All right, cool. So there is a question, it looks like, from is this recorded? Please say yes. Of course, Sean. Yes, this is recorded. Jen, I'm gonna post the link to your LinkedIn profile in the chat, so people can just add you right now and connect with you.
Okay. Awesome.
And someone wants to know, how do you find freelancers? Ooh, that's a good one. Jen, what do you think?
Okay, I haven't done this in a while, but so I was just thinking. So you can find people on places like Upwork. There are also sort of like content kind of hubs that you can use where they can connect you with writers, like Writer Access, I believe is one that I used to use in the past. Clear Voice is another one. So there are some really great organizations that have vetted writers and that way you and then the transaction happens through that organization.
Nice. Yeah, I'm a fan of Upwork. I'm also a fan of LinkedIn. You know, you can just actually like post a LinkedIn, hey, I'm looking for a freelancer to help me with this. And then like you'll probably get some low quality people hitting you up, but you'll probably find some gems too. So don't be afraid of LinkedIn. That could always work.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool. Is there any more questions for Jen? It looks like, is this recorded? Yes, we already got that. Boom. Freelancers. Boom. Anything else for Jen? While we're still here, we still got 18 people on the line. So if not, I think we'll probably call it a day. Jen, obviously I posted your LinkedIn profile link there so people can hit you up. Where else could they go to learn more about you and SmartBug?
SmartBugMedia.com.
Okay.
And I'm also on Twitter at Jen Spencer. So, and if you do connect with me on LinkedIn, do me a favor and just let me know that this is where we met, just so I have some context. Yes. If you don't, I will ask you why you're connecting with me. But I prefer to know going into that conversation.
All right. Last question before you bounce. Zane wants to know how this strategy translates to B2C. I'm actually inviting him into the screen for this last question. This is the grand finale. So Zane, I invited you to join via the screen. So if you're able to, that'd be awesome. If not, it's all good. It looks like Zane rejected because he probably doesn't have like a proper audio or video setup. So it's all good. But I guess that's the last question. How does this strategy translate to B2C?
Sure. So I would ask, the clarifying question I would ask is it transactional or is it more consultative? So if it's B2C and your buyer requires, if there's some kind of an educational path that someone's going to go down, right? So then, and they need to be taught something, then it's very, very effective. If you're selling something that's very transactional, like an e-commerce type of product, probably not the best approach. I would have a whole other, we could have a whole other conversation about that. But if there's some kind of a story that needs to be told, like we have B2C clients that are educational institutions, senior care communities, medical devices. So think about like how much is at risk when they make that purchase, and how important is it? And if so, then this approach is very effective for that kind of an audience.
Definitely. Jen, thank you so much. You've been so awesome. Benjamin, thank you. You're welcome. Zane, you're welcome. Everybody, thank you again for joining. We're going to send you a copy of the deck, and the recording will also be sent to your inbox. So please hit up Jen, hit up SmartBug Media if you need help with inbound marketing. And that is a wrap for us today, ladies and gentlemen. We are signing off. Peace. Later, Jen.
Thanks all.
Bye.